Welcome to The Explainer. So every year, millions of Indians pack their bags and head abroad. We've all heard that term, right? Brain drain, this idea that India is losing its best and brightest people. But is that really the whole picture? Today, we're going to dig into the data and see if this is a simple story of loss or something a whole lot more complicated.
So let me ask you something right off the bat, a question that kind of frames this whole topic. If you had everything you needed, all the opportunities, all the resources, what would you do? Would you stay and build a life right here in India, or would you move? Your answer, whatever it is part of a huge conversation happening in millions of homes right now. It's one of the big questions for modern India. So with that in mind, let's look at the hard numbers.
Over 1.6 million. That's how many Indians have actually given up their citizenship since 2011. And the data shows this isn't slowing down. In fact, it's speeding up. 2022 was the highest year ever for people handing in their Indian passports. And this isn't just a handful of people. We're talking about a really significant outflow.
And get this, it's not just anyone who's leaving. Projections from migration experts show that in 2024 alone, an estimated 4,300 millionaires are expected to leave India. And that's on top of the thousands of other high-net-worth individuals who have already moved, taking their money and their investments with them.
But here's the twist. For all the people leaving, the connection back home seems incredibly strong. In just a single year, the Indian diaspora sent back over $100 billion in remittances. That's a staggering amount of money being pumped back into the Indian economy, which really complicates that simple idea of a drain.
All right, Section 1, the Great Indian Exodus. So to really understand what's going on, we first have to get our heads around the sheer scale of this movement.
2.5 million people a year. Think about that for a second. That movement is what makes the Indian diaspora the largest in the entire world. It's a phenomenon that's reshaping families, communities, and really, the country itself. So the big question is, why? Why is this happening?
Okay, Section 2, the push. Reasons to leave. So what's actually pushing people to make this huge, life-changing decision? Well, it boils down to a mix of social, economic, and political factors.
You know, if you look at global indexes, they start to paint a part of the picture. For instance, India ranks 93rd on corruption perception, which basically means almost half the world is seen as less corrupt. And when you look at things like women's security or even overall happiness, the country is in the bottom half of global rankings. For many people, these aren't just statistics on a page. They're real-world frustrations they deal with every day.
We can pretty much group these push factors into three big buckets. On the social side, you've got concerns about everything from women's safety and crime rates to the quality of public schools and healthcare. Economically, people talk about high taxes, corruption, and this feeling that they can't reach their full potential. And yeah, for some, the polarized political environment is also a factor.
And if we dig a little deeper into those economic reasons, you see some specifics. For high-earning professionals, a 30% income tax can feel pretty steep, especially if they feel the public services don't quite match up. Or, if you're a scientist, the fact that India's R&D spending is just 0.7% of GDP, well, that pushes you to look for better-funded labs somewhere else.
Of course, migration isn't just about pushing away from home. It's also about the powerful pull of what other countries have to offer. That prospect of a different kind of life is a huge, huge motivator. And the top destinations, they each have their own strong sales pitch. You've got Canada with its clear, straightforward path to citizenship and great quality of life. The US is still this huge magnet for tech and healthcare careers. Then you have Australia's lifestyle, the UK's famous universities, and the UAE offering something totally different, tax-free income, just a short flight away from home.
This quote here really nails a crucial point that goes beyond all the practical reasons. There's this deep-seated cultural idea, maybe a legacy of history, that associates working abroad with success, with prestige. It's often seen as this major personal and professional milestone.
But here's the thing. While millions are leaving, there's a powerful counter-narrative building. A story of an India that is rising, creating opportunities, and making a pretty compelling case for its talent to stay, or maybe even to come back. This is the other side of the coin.
And nowhere is this debate clearer than when you talk about jobs. On one hand, you have reports, like one from Citigroup, that suggest India is going to struggle to create enough high-quality jobs for its people. But on the other hand, the Indian government pushes back hard, pointing to its own data that shows tens of millions of jobs being created and a falling unemployment rate. Both sides can't be 100% right, which just shows you how complex this all is.
Beyond the jobs debate, there are some clear indicators of economic progress.
The government points to a GDP growth rate that's among the highest in the world, a huge improvement in the ease of doing business rankings, and a massive, multi-trillion rupee investment in building world-class infrastructure. We're talking highways, railways, and ports.
And here it is. This is the number at the very heart of the counter-argument. According to the government's official survey, the national unemployment rate fell to just 3.2% in 2023. This is the central piece of data used to argue that India's economy is, in fact, creating more than enough opportunities and is becoming stronger and more resilient.
So all of this brings us to our final section. How should we even frame this? Is it a drain of our best and brightest that we should be worried about? Or is it something more nuanced, like a gain, or maybe even a circulation of talent?
You know, experts are increasingly moving past that old brain drain label. They're using terms like brain gain or brain circulation, which describes how migrants go abroad, get new skills and expertise, and then bring that knowledge back. And then you have reverse brain drain. That's when those really experienced professionals come back to India specifically to launch a startup or take a big job, fueled by the country's growth.
And this brings us right back to that $100 billion figure. The diaspora isn't just a loss of talent. It's a huge financial asset. Those remittances are a major source of foreign exchange, and overseas Indians are also major investors back home, connecting India even more deeply to the global economy.
So we end with this question, which really sits at the heart of this entire debate. Is this mass migration a crisis, a drain of talent that India has to stop? Or is it just a natural feature of our modern, globalized world, a brain circulation that actually benefits India in complex ways? The answer, as all this data shows, is far from simple.